The current hop-up situation in Apex Legends Season 5 is not super great according to most of the players out there. So instead of being a negative Nancy about it and just complaining and whining, doing absolutely nothing to help the problem, let's try to instead maybe think up some potential new hop-ups, some things that Respawn could try that we might like to see in the game at a future date that might make things a little bit more interesting. For those that are not in the know, here is a quick synopsis of kind of where we're at in the game right now. So we're right at the launch of Season 5. We have 5 hop-ups in the game. We have Precision Choke, we have Select Fire, we have Hammer Point, we have Double Tap, and we have Skull Piercer. Of those, 3 are pretty well coveted and are pretty well liked by the community, and they do actually really good things for really good guns, whereas 2 of them, in the Double Tap specifically, as well as the Precision Choke, are just not applicable to very many guns. Their effect is middling at best, and while there are some people who really like the guns they're attached to and really like the benefits they get, and they're not wrong for believing so, it's a lukewarm response from the community as a whole. It's just, you know, I really feel like the Double Tap and Precision Choke are really just kind of a couple steps below the rest of the hop-ups in terms of community engagement and enjoyment and usage rates and this and that, just purely from an I'm guessing standpoint, because I don't have access to the actual metrics that Respawn and EA have. But really, if it were me, if I were like the armchair game designer at Respawn and I could remove one hop-up from the game and put a new one in, then I would certainly be removing Precision Choke as of right now, because with the Peacekeeper rotating into the care package, there's now only one gun that can equip it in the Triple Take, and why not just make the Triple Take have a Precision Choke functionality built into the gun, and then just leave it at that. Just get rid of the hop-up, build it into the Triple Take, and we're finished here, right? So what can we do then, if we are the armchair game designer or developer or whatever, to replace that attachment and put in a new hop-up? I have a few ideas for some potential things, but I would love to see some comments down below with your ideas as well. And for these hop-up ideas, we're actually going to be scavenging quite a bit from Titanfall 1 and potentially even some Titanfall 2 weapon attachments. First up, we're going to talk about Counterweight, which was applicable in Titanfall 1 to a weapon called the Car, which was an SMG. If the R99 is your light SMG, then think of the Car as your heavy SMG that is full auto, unlike the Prowler, which is a burst. This weapon had the counterweight attachment, which made it so when you were airborne, if you were to hip-fire the gun, your bullets were very accurate. It had some other minor benefits as well, but this was the main one, where while you're either on the ground and moving, or if you're airborne, I guess I should say both of those things, it would make your hip-fire very accurate. So the counterweight made the Car into kind of like a lightning gun light from something like Quake. Bringing something like this back into Apex with a slight little twist, I think could be really interesting for the game. I would like to see it specifically on the Sentinel of all guns, because being able to shoot a sniper rifle accurately from mid-air would be really cool. And because this is a bolt action, like the slowest sniper rifle we have outside the Kraber, I think it would be very fitting that to balance out some of the low speed, high damage potential of this gun would be if you could combine it with some kind of acrobatic things, like if you're Pathfinder and you're grappling straight up to fly in the air and get over a piece of cover, or if you're Octane using a jump pad or some other form of, you know, mobility from any legend. Just being able to shoot accurately while airborne is actually, I think, really cool, and opens up an entirely new style of play, an entirely new aspirational goal for players that otherwise would not exist. Maybe or maybe not, it could include some kind of hipfire benefit, I don't know, but maybe making a Sentinel a little bit more attractive to bring in an endgame by being able to fully charge it up with your 2 cells, so you get a guaranteed shield rip, and then your counterweight makes it so your hipfire is a little bit more accurate, so you can basically try to no-scope people a little bit more consistently with that gun, or you can, you know, fly through the air, scope in, shoot people accurately, whichever you want. That could be really cool. And this is very possible, I already know, because earlier on in the game's lifetime, certain weapons were completely accurate while you were airborne. Shotguns still maintain that, so if you were to have a Precision Choke, well, I guess you don't need it anymore because it's in the care package. If you have a Peacekeeper right now, and you were aiming down sights to charge it up, and you tighten down the choke, if you fire it while midair, your bullets will still go to the center of your screen, whereas with every other gun in the game, they don't really do that. I think the charge rifle is an exception, where the charge rifle is still perfectly accurate while airborne, but the vast majority of guns are not accurate while airborne. Prior in the game's lifetime, the G7 was also fully, completely, perfectly accurate while you were airborne. So you could take Pathfinder zip lines, or you could get onto balloons and go vertically up, or take a jump pad, or whatever else. And if you were aiming down sights, your bullets would always go to the center of your crosshair. So it's a really interesting thing where these guns can be applicable in these small niche scenarios where other guns would not normally be options. So maybe this would be a really low power hop up and you need to do something else besides in-air accuracy to make it actually coveted and wanted and used. But I know that I personally would very much love to use a counterweight on a few specific snipers. Putting it on a triple take as well would be really, really cool. Maybe not on a longbow just because of its rate of fire, but hey, who knows? That might be neat as well. As for non-sniper weapons equipping a counterweight, I think it would be interesting if you were to put it on assault rifles. Maybe something that you don't normally want to bring in endgame, maybe something that's a little bit less used. I'm probably going to make a few people upset here, but maybe the Hemlock could be the one that would get it, because again, it just seems like a gun that, at least on PC in the metagame that I play in, which is usually either just holding W in casual or playing in, you know, Diamond Masters, sometimes even with some Preds in ranked every now and then, you only see the Hemlock used because it's just the only gun they find or they have ammo for. It's not like something that they want to bring to endgame because it's like, it's the meta, it's the best, you know? So giving it something a little extra could be really, really cool. The Hemlock already has a really good counterweight, or a really good hipfire accuracy, but what if you could make it even better with counterweight? What if you could perhaps make it so when you're airborne with this gun, that again, your bullets all go to crosshair when you're aiming down sights. So you just have this opportunity to take a gun that is normally not used and breathe some new life into it, into some other smaller niche situations. And you know, honestly, the Hemlock is not even bad. You toggle it into single fire and you just spam people down. It's really, really good damage. And if you can get close range with burst and you land more than one in the head per burst, it's crazy how much damage the gun does. So just giving you a little bit more impetus on the front end to want to use the gun might make people realize just how good the Hemlock can be once you get really good with it, and they might want to use it a little bit more. So I think overall that something like this could be great for the game. Next up, we have another Titanfall 1 poached idea, and this one I think might not be quite as good for the game on the whole, but it's just an idea video. We're just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks, so it's worth at least talking about. Slammer rounds. Slammer rounds was an attachment specifically for the Spitfire in Titanfall 1, where when you were rodeoing an enemy Titan and shooting into its internals, you would deal extra damage. The Slammer Spitfire was actually incredibly powerful, and it was absurd at killing Titans. Like just the damage per second it would deal to Titans once you rodeo them was pretty much second to none. It was crazy good. And I think that bringing something like that back into Apex with a slightly different role could be pretty interesting. So again, this might be a Spitfire hop-up. Maybe this could go into a couple other guns as well. Like maybe it would be an LMG specific thing. But maybe it would just be like an inherent buff to LMGs as opposed to being a hop-up. That might be a thing as well. So, Slammer rounds. The idea might be that they could slow fortified targets. So you see a lot of people out there, even still to this day, with the misconception that heavy bullets will slow opponents more than any other bullets, and that they will specifically slow down fortified targets when nothing else will. All those claims are false. Every legend is slowed in the exact same way by all kinds of bullets, except fortified legends, who are not slowed by any bullets. That is how it works, period, end. Introducing another wrinkle into that by putting slammer rounds in and say, hey, okay, if you have a weapon with slammer rounds equipped, all of a sudden fortified legends are now subjected to being slowed. Maybe it could be that a legend who is not fortified is slowed even more on top of that. What if, with slammer rounds, we could go back to the Titanfall 1 roots, and you would deal extra damage to structures. So if you were to shoot a door, then maybe you would be able to actually break the door by shooting at it. Because normally you could only open doors by shooting it. What if with slammer rounds in your Spitfire, you could literally break the door? Just completely, from a distance, door breaking. That sounds really great, right? I mean, sure, you can do it with a grenade right now, but hey, the ability to use it to do that without using a grenade and just firing directly at a door and blowing it up sounds pretty interesting. If there's ever a potential for bullet penetration, this might be a way of doing it as well. I don't know if Respawn's tech even allows for bullet penetration, or if that would even be good for the game. You know, having a 55-round magazine Spitfire that is just wall banging an entire team of like a Watson team that is holed up, and you're just shooting her generator through the wall might be a bit degenerate and bad for the game. I don't know. But again, it's just ideas, it's stuff to play with. I don't know if their tech allows it, but I would be interested to see stuff like this coming into the game and see if it doesn't shake up the metagame and rank just a little bit. As an idea for yet another hop-up to bring back into Apex Legends from Titanfall 1, what if we were to do something like the Scatterfire? But maybe we don't put it on the R99 like where it used to go. Maybe this could be a gold rarity or legendary rarity hop-up. It could go on something like an alternator, or if they were ever to put the Volt in the game, like from our previous discussion about, you know, theory crafting on guns, if they were to put the Volt in, might be a decent candidate for that as well, where you can, maybe it'll work like select fire where you can toggle it on and off. So if you really want it off, you can just, you know, select fire it off so you have a regular rate of fire. But if you toggle it on and your rate of fire is increased, then, you know, all of a sudden your alternator can reach R99 levels of performance, or your Volt can reach similar levels of performance, or whatever other gun it could reach. You could have that shredder kind of weapon that has a really good DPS, and then you can toggle that off, and you would have much better control for medium to long range fights. Could be really neat. Could be really terrible for the game. I don't know, but just something to consider. It seems like it would be very, very easy to implement, and could be cool. Moving on, let's start poaching some ideas from Titanfall 2. First up, let's talk about Ricochet rounds. So this was a hop-up, or rather attachment I should say, that was available for the Kraber and the Wingman Elite. And it allowed your bullets to bounce off of walls and surfaces, I think up to 2 times. This could be really interesting in Apex Legends. If you were to put it on a gun like, you know, something that's not already like a top-tier meta pick, again, maybe like the Alternator would be a good fit. I'm sure there's some other guns that might be good fits. Again, Hemlock might be one, just because it hasn't even seen a hop-up yet. That might be cool to have a Hemlock hop-up. It doesn't really necessarily matter where it goes, but I would want it to be on something that's not like a top-tier meta gun. Anyways, the ability to simply just bounce bullets around corners and off of walls could be really, really interesting to change the way that you engage fights. It could change the way that you deal with Watson gens and setups. If you are a pro-level, tournament-level player, you're definitely going to have setups where you're going to know that if you stand in this corner, shoot this wall just this way, that you're going to bounce your bullet around this corner, and it's going to ricochet a second time, and it's going to hit there, and you can break the Watson gen with it, or you can break the Watson fence with it, or you can clear out a caustic trap with it, or whatever the case may be. It's going to offer some really interesting gameplay. Now, you would, of course, have to balance it just like you have with Skull Piercer and Disruptor by making the bullet trail different, by making the bullets sound different, look different, whatever. You would definitely have to do something like that, but it sounds like a pretty nifty little idea for a hop-up. Again, can change the way the game is played dramatically at high levels of play with a very little amounts of dev time, I would imagine, because they've already done it in Titanfall 2, so it shouldn't be... It's not like they're developing it from scratch. You know, they have an idea of how to do it already, so, you know, being able to reimagine it and re-implement it in a game like this, I would think would be not too difficult to do. Could be interesting. And then for our very last idea for this video, let's bring in Tactikill from Titanfall 2. This is a little bit more esoteric of an idea, and it might be one that might be better suited for perhaps a 5th piece of gear that goes on your legend, like a legend hop-up, as opposed to being a weapon hop-up. So what Tactikill did in Titanfall 2 was every time you got a kill, it would give you some of your cooldown back on your tactical ability. I think it was like 1/3 of it, or maybe it was just a certain number of seconds. Again, I only ever use stim, and it takes like, I think 2 or 3 kills before you get your stim back on Tactikill. So, whatever, who cares? Point is, it brings back your tactical ability faster. So having a hop up on your gun where every time you get a knock, or every time you get a kill, or maybe every X amount of damage you do, you would get some time back for your tactical, which could be really, really interesting. However, this seems like something that maybe could be baked just directly into Bloodhound. I think that making Bloodhound a super snowball legend could be really interesting. Maybe it would be really bad for the game, but I would like to experiment with it, where Bloodhound, maybe now every time they get a knock, maybe it's only while they're in their ult, their ultimate ability, whatever that one's called. I think Beast of the Hunt is what it's called. Perhaps while you're in that, you get tactical cooldown for every knock you get, as well as an increase in duration for the ult. Things like that could be really, really nifty. But making it sort of like a hop-up that would go on your gun could be cool, so that way every legend can access it, but that might take away from Bloodhound a bit. I don't know. You know, you might have like a Gibraltar versus Lifeline situation where Gibraltar gets so much and new legends get so much that Lifeline just kind of isn't bad, but is just hard to justify picking, at least in, you know, a pre-season 5 meta game. You might do something like that with a hop-up like this to Bloodhound, which could be really, really bad. So maybe you could do something like, instead of Tactical going on your gun, it could be like a legend-specific hop-up, or maybe not legend-specific, maybe a legend-agnostic hop-up, where any legend can pick it up, and it will give a specialty buff to just that legend. So maybe for Bangalore, for example, you have the hop-up. Maybe her ultimate bombs will explode a little bit faster, and they'll sound different, and they'll look different when they hit the ground, so people know, oh god, this is a hop-up Bangalore ult, oh no, you know, and they'll actually start to care about Bangalore's ult, or maybe she gets 3 charges of smoke instead of 2. Maybe Watson can hold on to 6 charges of fences instead of 4 while she has it, or Caustic can have 4 charges of his gas, or maybe he can carry 2 ults. That might be even more degenerate than Legend already is, but I mean, again, we're just theorying here, right? Like, what if there was a hop-up that wasn't for a gun, that went on your legend and made your legend do special, interesting stuff, and that was super highly coveted? That might be at the point where, you know how we have this idea of map toys, where you have the balloons for redeploying, you have the respawn beacons, and now we have the ultimate chargers. Maybe that could be a new map toy in general, where people fight for control of that, and they can get a buff on one of their legends that lasts for the duration of the game. That could be super interesting and something worth fighting over, something worth maybe saying, okay, I don't want to do the hot drop for the good guns and equipment because we really want to target this legend hop-up and we want to play around that. That would be a cool and interesting way of turning the Battle Royale genre on its head and introducing power-ups and, like, you know, original, like, AFPS style things into Battle Royale. I don't know, just ideas, could be cool. Let me know what you think down below. I don't want to go too much further into this because we can just talk for hours about ideas and theory of things that'll never ever come to pass. But let me know what you all think down below. Thank you for coming to watch. I hope you had fun listening to this one today, and I will see you again very soon. Take care.